Hello everybody, how are you guys? It's Karen at Simply Living for Him, and I'm going live today to talk about all things homeschooling. To show you, I have our curriculum here for the upcoming year, and I just want to talk to you guys about homeschooling and show you what we're using this year. I have people ask me all the time, what curriculum do you use? And it changes every year, every season of life. But a lot of people had asked if I would do a video to show what we were using. So I have most of it here. Some stuff is still on the way, but I figured I could at least come on and show you guys what we're using, talk to you guys about what we're using. I would love it if you would comment if you're watching so I know who's here. Let me know if you're homeschooling this year, and if you are homeschooling, is it your first time homeschooling? Are you just starting out? Have you been doing this a long time? How many children are you homeschooling? What grades are you homeschooling? Let me know. I know we have a lot of new homeschoolers. I'm just checking my computer here to make sure it's all working. It looks like it is. If you cannot hear me, let me know, but it looks like it's working. I know we have a lot of new homeschoolers this year. I know with everything going on, people have decided this is the time to homeschool. So I've had a lot of people asking questions. I've had quite a few homeschooling consulting appointments lately. I put all that information in the video description if you're interested. But I would love to hear about who you are, what you're doing in your homeschool. I'm going to show all the stuff here. I have piles on both sides here of what we're using in our homeschool this year. Every year it changes, you know, it doesn't always stay the same, and that's okay. Also, before I show you guys all of that, let me look at my list, because I have like my list here of things because I don't want to forget. Feel free to put questions in the comments because I want to answer any of your questions. Hey, Sonia. You're starting your 9th year? That's so exciting. We are starting our 15th year of homeschooling. I feel like an old lady when I say that because it feels like just yesterday I had this little 5-year-old that I didn't know what to do with. You know, I felt that God was calling us to homeschool, and honestly, I didn't even know what that was back then. I didn't know what I was getting into. I really just thought we're going to do it for 1 year, and here we are, right? It's been quite a journey. That little 5-year-old is now at her 2nd year of college. In fact, she's an RA this year, and I just saw on Instagram, I got to see a little peek. Her college head is moving in today, and she's over there moving in the students. And so what a journey it's been. So I have my little list here. Hey, Haley. It's your 3rd year homeschooling. Aw, 2nd K and a 3-year-old. Those are the best years. Those are so fun. I mean, they're all good years. Actually, I have 2 teenagers, 1 tween, he's going to be 12, preteen. And I always say these are the best years. Like, I really, honestly, like, every stage has its own good things. I absolutely love homeschooling teenage boys. I love being able to say that because I feel like so many people think like, homeschooling teenagers and boys and all this. It is a joy. I tell them these are the greatest years of my life. Really, they are. They're so much fun. So before I show you all of our curriculum, like I said, let me know who's watching, where you're watching from, how many kids you're homeschooling, or maybe you just have questions about homeschooling. I know some people are still on the fence. Anything you want to put in the comments, let me know, and I'm going to try to get to the questions. I'm going to show you our curriculum choices for this year. I will have another senior. Oh my goodness. So I'm like working myself out of my job now. We graduated our first last year. She's in her 2nd year of college, and now I have an upcoming senior, 10th grader, and 6th grader. And so I'm going to show you what we're using this year for high school and I guess middle school. He's a 6th grader. I don't know. Some people think of that as middle school. Some people don't. I don't really think of it as anything. I just think of it as he's going to be 12. Hey, Megan, it's your 3rd year homeschooling, and you have a 2nd grader, K, and a 2-year-old. Oh, and you're expecting another in December. That's awesome. Congratulations. All right, you've enjoyed, April says you've enjoyed your teen boy too. He graduated. I know I'm going to miss these boys when they graduate. Honestly, It's so much fun. Annabella, I can't see it. I'm sorry. I should have my glasses on. I can hardly see the print on the phone, but you said I love homeschooling teenage boys. Wow, I want to learn from you. It's not me, honestly. I mean, they're great kids, and I really believe that when you build into your children early on, it is so important for the later years. We're going to talk a lot about that when I talk about teenagers and curriculum and what we're using. That brings me to tell you my new homeschooling book is coming out soon, very soon. I'm excited. And it's all about this. It's called The Simple, we've changed the name quite a few times. So if you've heard me talk about it, the final title is The Simple Homeschooling Journey, Building a Family and Not Just a Transcript. And it really talks about that, how it's so important to build in the early years. And that's why I can say that the teenage years are a joy. They really are. I absolutely love being with my teenage boys. And you know what's really cool? They take care of me now. Right? I used to take care of them. They take care of me now. Hey, Dawn, you're from North Dakota, 20 years. Awesome. You graduated 3 and have 8th, 6th, 4th, and 2nd. Wow, that's exciting. All right, so before I show you all of our curriculum choices for the year, because I know that's what you guys love to see, I just want to remind you, the Simplify Your Homeschool e-course is available. I've had amazing positive feedback from that course. You know, this isn't a course that teaches you how to homeschool, because you can find that information anywhere. This is really the core of what I do, which is pointing you to Jesus. It's like a heart tune-up for your homeschool. It's like a spiritual check before you start your homeschool to really get your spiritual house in order before you can get your homeschool in order. If you want peace and order in your homeschool, it starts with, like I said, getting your spiritual house in order. And so it's a 4-part video webinar, and then there's free downloads, and also there's discounts for my homeschool consulting program. That link is over in the video. I also have my Bible-based homeschooling e-course, which is available. That's 20 videos that teach you how we used the Bible as our main textbook for an entire year in homeschool. We didn't have all this curriculum for a year. We just learned history, science, language arts, mostly everything straight from our Bible studies, and I'm teaching you guys how to do that in the Bible-based homeschooling e-course. I've had so much positive feedback on that one as well. If you're looking for something different, it's like a giant unit study. If you're looking to kind of just put the books aside, the course does not give you exactly what to do. It tells you how to do it. So it's a guide. It is not a curriculum, and it encourages you on how you can keep the Bible as the foundation in your homeschool. All right, so those are the e-courses, and then, like I said, I'm doing homeschool consulting. One of my clients the other day was so funny. I met with her last year before her homeschool year, and then we just met again this year. And she said, you know, we were talking, and she's like, I'm going to do this every year. I'm like, yeah, it's like your yearly well visit, right? You know, we were able to kind of, like a little checkup before her homeschool starts. We were able to go over decisions on curriculum and scheduling and planning. And again, what I do is always point you to Jesus. So all my homeschooling clients, you know, I pray with them. I am available for them via text at any time they need prayer. And so I absolutely love being able to offer that service to you guys. That link is here as well. Annabella, you're on week 2 of school and you're already struggling. Well, I hope you're going to find encouragement today, because I want to talk about, you know, the hard stuff. And I talk about that in my book, the new book coming out. I talk about that in the other homeschooling books that I have out. I talk about that in the Simplify Your Homeschool e-course. So maybe that's something also that would help. You want to hear what, how to touch the hearts of teenage boys. You're on your 5th year. You have 3 kids. Last year was our first tough year, and you're trying to undo the damage. Listen, I will tell you, in 15 years of homeschooling, I say this all the time, we have never achieved homeschool nirvana, right? Everybody thinks like, next year is going to be the year that I get it together. Next year is going to be the year that it goes smoothly. Next year is going to be the year I get the perfect curriculum. Next year is going to be the year. You know what? You may have learned just as much last year in that hard year probably even more than you would in that perfect year that we have in our minds sometimes. I really believe that God uses it all. He's teaching our families and us and our children about so much more than academics. So, you know, the hard years, they have a place and a purpose and a value in our homeschool. Even though while we're in it, we don't see that, you know, we can learn from it. And so having a hard year, like we've gone through many years that have been up and down, right? But looking back, I can always say, like, I see growth through those hard times. And so, you know, it's never lost, and don't feel discouraged. We've never had a perfect year. Like I said, we're going on our 15th year, and every year is different in its own way. You know, some years are great academically. Some years are great spiritually. Some years are, you know, there's just always different things. Let me just see, some of these comments are flying by here. Amber says she has a vast array of ages, 4, 7, 12, trying to find something to keep you learning together aside from specific subjects like math and language arts. The Bible-based homeschooling e-course might be very helpful for you if you don't have it already. But yeah, homeschooling is about so much more than academics. You know, whenever I speak at homeschooling conventions, I'm always like, you know what, if you're coming to my session, we're not going to talk about academics or how to homeschool. You might be able to find that from a million other speakers. I really want to be here to point you guys to Jesus, because I really believe when you keep God at the center of everything, that is where your true success is found. Not in the perfect curriculum, not in the perfect system, not in the perfect method, not in the perfect planner, the perfect chore chart, meal plan, whatever it is, right? All of those things have their place, but without God at the center of using those things, it will all fall apart. So I will always point you guys to Jesus, and will always point you guys to the heart of your homeschool. All right, if you have questions while I'm talking, please, you know, put them in the comments. Over the years in our homeschool, so we have four children, and we started out back when my daughter was, you know, just 5 years old, entering kindergarten. She is now a sophomore in college, and we homeschooled the whole time, the whole way, and it was an amazing journey. Like I said, I have a book coming out soon where you'll hear all about that whole journey. But over the years, there are certain curriculum that we kind of really have stuck with, and we do very little tweaking. And then there's other things that I have switched depending on the year, the season of life, the child that I'm teaching. So, you know, it's okay to switch things. One of the main questions I've been having in my homeschool consulting appointments lately is, I find that moms, first of all, every mom that I meet with practically has the same overarching theme. And that is, what if I'm failing my kids? Or what if I'm not doing enough? And, you know, again, it goes back to the heart stuff. And so I'm always able to pray with them and point them to Jesus in that. And I'm also finding the very common thread lately is, what if I make the wrong decision in homeschool curriculum? You know, how do I know? Like, they're becoming paralyzed by fear of making the wrong decision. They're also becoming paralyzed, you know that expression, analysis paralysis? There's so much information and so many choices, and it all looks good. And they don't know what to do, and they're afraid, you know, or they'll pick something, but then something else looks better. What I tell them is, there is always something that's going to be better. It's all good. We as homeschoolers in this day and age are so blessed to have such an abundance of information and curriculum and resources. But at the same time, it can be to our detriment if we can't choose something and walk in faith. I truly believe that God will work no matter what curriculum you choose if you are keeping Him at the center of everything you do. You know, we don't want to be so prideful as to put God in a box. Like, if I choose the wrong curriculum, I'm going to wreck my kids forever. No, if God called you to homeschool, He's going to equip you to homeschool, and it really, you know, God can work no matter what curriculum you choose, right? And so we have to be careful that we don't put so much security in the tangible things around us. Like, I feel like we get a false sense of security. Like, if we get the right planner or we get the right curriculum, then we'll be successful. But God's success and being, successful in God's eyes is about so much more than those tangible things that we can have in our homeschool. So we just want to be careful that we're not getting a false sense of security, because then what happens is you'll be like me. In the early years of homeschooling, everything looked good. So I would do this and then something looked good. So I'd quit that and I do that, and then something else looked good. So I quit that and I do that. And you know what? 2 years in, I was ready to give up the whole journey because I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a failure. And so, at Simply Living for Him, I'm always talking about keeping it simple. And, it's not about all the stuff. I really believe it's about the heart. If you have, like that 1 year, we taught using the Bible. We learned so much. So I really believe if you were stranded on a desert island and you just had a Bible and a notebook, that you're going to be able to teach your kids enough. So it's really about your heart with the choices that you make. So when I show you our curriculum, I don't want this to become like, oh, that looks good, I better change our whole plan. If that's what you're going to do, turn it off right now. Because I used to do that. It's the whole comparison thing. And you'll really drive yourself crazy because there's a lot of good stuff out there. I like to tell the story that when I first started homeschooling, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was getting into. And this mom at my church was homeschooling, and she had just finished kindergarten, so she gave me her kindergarten curriculum. And she's like, if you want it, you can have it. I went home and I was like, great, I have curriculum. God told me to homeschool and we're going to do it. I honestly didn't even know I was like supposed to look at anything else. I just thought I have curriculum. Then I mentioned to a friend, oh, so-and-so gave me this curriculum. And she's like, oh, did you look at anything else? And I'm like, oh, is there anything else? And she's like, oh, yes. There's catalogs and go on the internet and there's, homeschool conventions. There's a lot. I look back on that and I'm like, what a childlike faith I had. And I sometimes wish I had that childlike faith now to be like, here's a curriculum, let's do it. Let's homeschool, Now, it's not to say that we shouldn't find, the right thing for our child and find something that works well for them. But I think as homeschooling moms, we often get caught up in the how to homeschool, that we're forgetting why we homeschool and who we're homeschooling for. So if you agree with me on that one, let me know. And if you've gotten caught up, let me know. And like I said, I'm the first to admit that I've gotten caught up. But not anymore. Nowadays, I am much more relaxed, I'm almost done with the journey for another one. But, we still have our moments. Okay, let me adjust that. I'm gonna start with my youngest guy and show you what I am doing for 6th grade this year. All right, so let me start with, now I will preface this and tell you, this is my 6th grade boy who, if you guys follow me on Instagram and you follow me on any social media, you'll know this is Farmer Boy, okay? We live out in this little hobby farm in the country, and he absolutely loves the animals. He takes care of these animals. He has goats, chickens, ducks, and guineas right now. And so he has been taking care of these animals really solely on him for the past 2 years. He is out there every morning. He's out there every night. He's out there actually right now checking on them. He is always, wanting to be with the animals and take care of the animals, and he wants to be a farmer. Last year in his schooling, we didn't use any formal science because he knows more science than I can tell you at this moment, because he is constantly reading up about his animals, watching any kind of nature documentary he can. He knows more about animals than, like I said, I can tell you. This year for his science, that will always continue with the animals. I will probably get some more informal books, but we do not have like a big formal science for him. And, quite frankly, he has learned so much just by his interests that for me to sit him down with a book of facts would be really boring when he's actually out there hands-on. But he has another project he's going to work on. We just talked about it actually this morning. He wants to next year have a pumpkin patch. So my husband has an area that he can use. So he's going to research when to plant, which I know is not till spring, but he's going to research when to plant. We have to clean that whole area out. And then he wants to grow the pumpkins and sell them on a little farm stand out front. So that's going to be like a hands-on project for him this year, aside from caring for the animals and all of that. So that's really been like his science. All right, so all of that is to say, let me show you what I have selected for him. Now, when my kids were little, my other older kids were little, actually I forgot. I also have this book here, Henry Morris, Science in the Bible, that I'm going to have him read, just like on his own. And so this is an old book. I just got it, hand me down. And so I'm going to have him read this on his own. And some other just science-y books, but really no formal science. What I was saying is my older kids all used Matthew C. from kindergarten up to high school at least. He is not using Matthew C. He's the first one I have that is not using Matthew C. in the elementary years. We have used Master Books, Math Lessons for Living Education. So he's on level 6 now for 6th grade. And we really, really enjoy it. It's simple. It's a little colorful. You know, I kind of miss having Matthew C. where the DVD kind of taught them everything. But on the other hand, in elementary, it hasn't really been that hard. So I'm not sure what he'll use as he's older, but he likes this very much. He doesn't struggle with math, so this has been good. It's light, it's not too much, and he's learned everything he needs to know. Amanda says, thank you for my encouragement and wisdom. Aw, you like the pumpkin patch idea? Yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, we will see how that goes. But he's, you know, like I said, you learn so much just from that hands-on stuff. So we will see. But this is his math. So if you guys out there are familiar with this, let me know. Or if you have questions about it, ask me now because I'm holding it. I can show you anything you want to see. This I just found out I need to get the teacher's guide for. I'm really bad. I don't usually get the teacher's guide because, you know, with the younger years, we kind of just go through it. But I just found out that there is the answers and there are like quizzes and tests in the teacher guide. I am not big on tests for my kids, especially when they're young, but I do think that at this point it would be good to give him the skill of taking tests. So I do want to have that, but I am not big on tests. We are more of, I would say, Charlotte Mason-ish homeschoolers. So, you know, we are more hands-on, more living books, not as much of traditional textbook style and tests. But as they get older, you know, depending on the child, we need to kind of incorporate some of those skills. So this is his math for 6th grade. Again, if you have any questions before I put it down, let me know. I've also linked everything that I'm going to show you, for the most part. If I didn't, I will add it in the video up here in the description. So you can always click on it for more information. So that's his science and math. And then, let's see. Oh, where is it? Oh, here it is. This is also from Master Books. This is Language Arts. Now, we started this one. This is 5th grade. We started this because we tried something new in January. So we're going to finish it probably, you know, the first half of this year. So this is, you know, that's the beauty of homeschooling, right? You can tailor things for wherever level you're at. Maybe we'll skip a little bit, you know, just to kind of get through the book. But because we started this halfway through the year, I want to finish it. We really liked it. It's called Language Lessons for Living Education. And that, like I said, is also from Master Books. If you have any questions about it, you want to see anything, let me know. One thing I told him, okay, so his science and his math, he's pretty much got that down pat. He's great at reading. He'll read anything. If it's about animals and nonfiction stuff, just sit him down and he'll read it all the day long. But I told him this year we really need to work on his writing. I know that's a skill he's lacking in. This book has helped with that a little bit, but I definitely know that I want to hone in on that. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but like, there are certain skills that some years you just hone in on more. And so for us, like, that's one of my goals for him academically this year. When he has written in the past, first of all, he's a great writer, like with his ideas and the things he has to say, but it's like the technical stuff, the spelling and all that. But I don't think that it's going to take him long to kind of, I don't want to say catch up, because I don't really feel he's behind. I just feel like he needs to work on it. So we're going to focus more on writing this year, like probably having more writing assignments. This book actually, like I said, helps with that, because there are writing assignments in here and stuff like that. So that's his language arts. And then this book goes with it, and he enjoys this very much. This is 101 favorite stories from the Bible. There'll usually be assignments from this to go with the language arts book. So that is also part of it. Then I got these two books kind of for fun. Oh wait, I'll actually, before I go on to that, I'm going to show you this. This is Beautiful Feet, Geography, a Literature Approach for Intermediate Grades. I'm trying something new this year. We did Beautiful Feet, actually. I think it was our second year of homeschooling. We did the American history, and that's actually the original name of my blog. It was called Beautiful Feet Bring Good News. And that was the year I started my blog, because we were actually using Beautiful Feet that year for the first time, and we enjoyed it. There's 4 books that go with this. So this is, I guess you would consider this geography / language arts. That's why I'm showing it to you with the language arts. So there's going to be books he has to read with this, and then it also teaches geography. So it's kind of like geography and language literature together. So if you have any questions about that, or you want to see anything in that, let me know, and I will be glad to show you that. But I just thought this was like, this was good. I like the whole literature approach to geography. So this is a little workbook, and then you get the 4 books. Actually, my friend is going to lend them to me because she has them. I don't have them right here, but they are Paddle to the Sea, Tree in the Trail, Min of Mississippi, and Seabird. And so those are going to help, and it's designed here, it says, for 3rd to 7th grade. And these are the books, if you can see them. So anyway, that is what we're going to do, and it has questions and little activities for that. Okay, and then I got these 2 books on Amazon, and they look fabulous. Does anybody seen them? So these are kind of like extra, and the reason I say extra is this one says everything you need to ace math in one big fat notebook. So this is kind of like to go along with his math, but I want to show you inside. It's like so appealing to look at. And he's the type of kid that will kind of just pick up a book because it looks interesting, and then, you know, like an hour later, he's still looking at it. So I didn't buy these to like sit down every day and do his curriculum. I bought them to entice him, to, you know, to make learning fun, and to kind of have these here like over the middle school years. So there's this math one, and then this one says everything you need to know about American history in one big fat notebook. And it's just very appealing looking, with facts and stories and illustrations and questions. And like I said, he's the type that would pick something up like this just for fun. And so I thought I would get these. So we're going to kind of just use them, you know, however they come up. Can you show us a page of that geography book? I sure can. If there's anything you guys want to see, let me know. A page. All right, I'll just show you like the first lesson. So this is like, I think, notebooking. So you'll be making like a notebook. I think there's map books I'm supposed to get to go with it. This is very much how I homeschool. I'm very like fly by the seat of my pants. So for those of you type A people out there, I'm probably making you crazy because I'm not that way. I'm like, I think this is what we have to do. But here's a lesson page. And so it's hard to show you on this camera, but it tells you read chapters 1 to 3, discuss, and then it talks about something in the book to discuss. Okay, so then I guess there's Canada geese here in this book. So it says do some research on Canada geese. Where do they winter? How many miles do they fly in their migration? What special flight formation enables them to fly such distances? Record in your notebook. So they'll be making a notebook with this. This is so his learning style. Number one, just the fact that he's going to get to research animal stuff about the Canada geese, that sold me. And then the notebooking is something that I know he'll like to do. He's good at that kind of thing. Like he'll put the attention to it, and I think that's good. And then it says here's a YouTube video you can watch. Oh, he'll love that about Canada geese. And then it talks, just about some other things using the map. Label and color Canada, and then it goes on, read more chapters. Oh, he's gonna love this. Do some research on ponds. This is so his love language. This is like so up his alley. I'm getting more excited now. Like I want to start school tomorrow with him. He is gonna love this book. Like sometimes you just know your kids. You just know what's gonna work for them. So these are the pages. I don't know that I can show them very well on here, but this is my kind of style. It's like not too involved, not too crazy, not too like all over the place. It's just simple and gentle, and that's my approach. And then one of the chapters here talks about finding out how a sawmill works, and then again doing something on the map, then researching the characteristics of a marsh. How is a marsh different from a pond? He is gonna love this book. I'm telling you. I'm excited. I want to do school tomorrow. So if you have more questions, let me know, but I'm going to put this book aside. But if you want to see anything at any time, just keep commenting and I will show you. While this is here, I'm going to show you. This is extra. He started doing this during the pandemic, whittling. So this is like a handicraft. This is school. This is learning. So he's got, I bought him as a surprise during the pandemic, a whole set of whittling tools. And then this has little projects. And so he's been going out in the woods and getting wood and wanting to pick out projects to do. So we're going to make that part of for us, we do school mostly the formal stuff in the morning. I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute, about the boys, the teenage boys, and what I do with them in the morning. So if you're interested in hearing about teenagers or teenage boys, hang on, because we're going to get to that. And then usually by lunch, we're done with the stuff we do together. Or definitely what we do together, and then they have the afternoons to finish what they need to finish and then to do things that are more interesting to them. So this is where he would something he would do like this. Another impulse buy. Do you guys have impulse buys, especially during the pandemic? I felt like you're on Amazon. Oh, that looks good. Anyway, I got this for him. I love these little books. I've had these before in the past for other things like nature and things like that. And so we are going to just have this, again, it's not like every single day. It's just going to be something that we're going to do as we can, all about money, business, and economics. And so this is the Thinking Tree, Do-It-Yourself Homeschool Curriculum. And so I love this, though. It teaches in a fun way, what is a credit card? What about credit? Understanding the way people make money, government and taxes. And so it kind of goes hand in hand with some of the stuff I'm doing with the older boys, which is why I wanted him to have something on his level, because he listens in to everything I do with the older boys. So he's learning so much with the older boys that I just wanted him to have a workbook that was on his level. And so that's why I got this, like I said, kind of impulse, kind of, useful, because I know that we're going to do that. Now, history, I don't have a formal history for him, although this has somewhat, I would say, of history in it. He has this, for fun, American history book. But what happened was last year, he sat in on all my boys' high school history, and he learned so much just by sitting with us. And so the same thing this year. He's really just going to be involved with us. We're doing U.S. government, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And so, again, I'm going to find him little things on his level. And that was, again, with the money, because they're going to be doing stuff like this at their level. So I just saw some questions fly by, and I don't want to miss them. If I have ever done classical education style learning, or if you have thoughts on it. I don't really have thoughts on it. I wouldn't say that I've ever put myself in that category. We are a little bit more eclectic. We are a little bit more interest-led or Charlotte Mason style. I've never done, I would say, a classical education formally at all. So I don't want to speak on anything I don't have much experience with. But I do know a lot of people that love it, and I do know a lot of people that, do those, follow those principles. The target age for which book? These, Nicole, I think these are middle school. These are the complete middle school study guide, if that's what you're asking. The target ages on these are middle school. The target age for this is 3rd to 7th. He's going in 6th. Target age for this one is after age 10. So I think I covered the question because I wasn't sure which book. Now, one other thing I want to show you, I linked this as well. These books, we're going to talk about the little sensitive stuff for a minute. So these are a series, you may have seen these, for those lovely preteen years, right? Where you have to talk about puberty and stuff like that. Somebody asked me on my last live video how we handle that in our homeschool. So these books we're going to be doing with the 11-year-old. My husband most likely will. He's going to start out with the youngest book, which is actually geared toward earlier ages than he is. Then the middle book, and then this one is going to be for the older boys. Relationships. 11 lessons to give kids a greater understanding of biblical sexuality. These are from Luke and Trisha Gilkerson. These are always highly recommended. In fact, we did these with the younger set with my older boys. My husband, I shouldn't say we. My husband did these with my older boys. At that time, they had them available for download. Their website is Intoxicated by Life, I think it's called. And we just downloaded and printed it out, but I wanted to have just like the books now. So I got these on Amazon. So I was excited about that. Hang on, I'm just going to answer the question. Do I use a method of tracking what each child is doing each year and if subjects regarding traditional standards like a checkpoint? Yes and no. I would say for the elementary years, not really. I mean, I have an idea what they're doing, how they're doing. For the high schoolers, yes. I keep a transcript of what they do every year. I grade them. I have a transcript filled out for how much credit they get, the class they took, and the grade that they got. So that is done because if they want to go to college or so that they can get a high school diploma. In my state where I live, I don't have to submit anything or show any records to anybody, but I do that for high school. And, you know, my daughter went to college, had absolutely no trouble getting into both colleges that she applied to. The transcripts were easily accepted by the college. It was very, very, you know, almost, what's the word? Anticlimactic. All those years, and that's why I wrote the new book I have coming out, all those years I stressed about the transcript and doing all this stuff. It wasn't really as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. So that's part of the reason I wrote the book, was like, you know, focus on the heart. Your child is so much more than just a piece of paper, so that's what I'm writing about in the book. But back to your question. So for my younger one, you know, I keep everything they do every year. In fact, I literally just threw out the one that's in college, her handwriting books, her math books, just the other day. So I have like everything that they've ever done, I do keep at the end of the year, almost like a portfolio. I don't necessarily go by traditional standards. I'll just say that. I do not, for me, it's not very important that I'm keeping up with the government schools. I go with my children and how they learn, and some of them have learned certain things so much faster than others. Some of them need a little bit more time. So that to me is more important, that I hone in on their level and work with them where they are and guide them along the way. And, you know, everything kind of evens out at the end. And so, you know, we don't really have any big issues with that. But I would definitely say that I don't like, especially in the younger years, I really don't try to keep up with, I don't really look at what the schools are doing. I know like what they should be learning, what I want them to learn and how to learn. And so I have all their work that they've done. If ever somebody wanted to see all that they've done, I keep it all. Like I said, I finally just threw the college students out. I was like, I don't think anyone's really going to ask what she did in first grade for handwriting. It's time to throw this stuff away. And you guys know me, I'm a simple girl, right? I don't want to keep clutter. So I finally just got rid of all her stuff. But I do, especially in the younger years, I always kept like literally everything and kept like a portfolio. So each year they had a box of everything they did. So if anyone ever wanted to see if they were keeping up, but quite frankly, I don't want them necessarily to keep up with anyone's standards, but the ones that we set in our family that I feel that God has led us to. So I hope that answers your question. So you can keep, as little or as much as you want, what you're comfortable with. And I know certain states you have to show people what you're doing. And so obviously then you wouldn't be able to be like me and just, not have it so formal. All right, so I think that is, I'm looking here, mostly everything I have for the middle school child. Now, I want you to remember that learning takes place from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed. This is their, school stuff, but you're welcome, Haley. I don't think that, there should always be this huge, defining moment that school is over, we're done learning for the day, right? So, and that's why I bought, these kind of books that are just, fun, but they're still learning. And so, I try to do that and keep their afternoon time, which is more of their downtime, more focused on interest-led stuff and, educational stuff, but not necessarily as formal. My kids are outside all the time. Unless it's 30 degrees below zero, they love to be outside. They love to be out in nature. They love to be doing stuff outside. So that's another big part of their learning. One other thing that my middle schooler, I told him, and he's funny. I told him he has to work on this year. He is not very proficient in the computer, I will admit. He wants to be a little old man who doesn't use technology. Those are his words. He even said to me this morning, isn't it a good thing that I'm not interested in technology? I'm like, not really for this day and age we live in. He is so anti-technology. It's not even funny. He has no interest in a phone or any of that stuff. I mean, he likes to play video games, and they are allowed to play at the end of the day, even in the summer. They only have a designated time that they're allowed to play before dinner time. But other than that, he just loves being outside. He loves being in nature. I told him, we can make you an Instagram for the farm. He's like, no way. He doesn't want any of that stuff. But I told him, in the day and age we live in, I know schools, they're using the computers. So my kids all knew how to use the computers, early on, taught themselves. He's just very not drawn to it. So we tried to teach him the basics, how to use the computer, how to type on the computer, and, word processing and that kind of thing. But as far as, even if I say to him, your whole world will open up if you look at YouTube, I can help him. Obviously, I'm not going to set him free on YouTube to find stuff about animals and the farm and all the stuff you love. He just doesn't like technology. It's hysterical. He's like, I'm like, what are you going to be, the farmer with all, the paper and pencil? You're going to be the farmer that keeps track of all your records with a little notepad and a pencil. And he's like, yep. He just doesn't like technology. So I know for him, that's another thing that we have to work on this year, that he has to know that, whether he wants to or not, he's got to be more proficient in the computer. Like I said, my other kids, it all came naturally, right? These days, kids, that comes naturally, but I know that's something we have to work on. So I told him he's got to just grin and bear it. So let's move on to high school, because I want to talk to you guys about how much I love homeschooling high school. Ask your questions. I know you have a lot of them. Okay, so I'm going to just preface this by saying I graduated my daughter a year ago. Well, now she's in her second year of college. She did her high school completely independently. We used Sunlight for the majority of high school. I gave her the binder, the schedule, and she literally just did it on her own. She was very independent. It was here's what you need to do from Monday to Friday. She didn't follow the schedule for every day, exact. She would get it done for the week. And I told her, you divvy up your time however you want. If you can get it all done on Monday, you're done for the week. If you want to spread it out, and it's a lot of work. She really couldn't have gotten it all done on Monday. But if we had something, or she had something that week that was really busy, she would manage her time to get it done when she could. And I find that that was one of the most beneficial things for her to do to prepare her for college. So she is in college and is able to manage her time well, and I think that was very helpful. And that was accidentally. I didn't do that because of planning for college. That's just the way it was. So she was really independent. She really didn't need me much in high school. She did very well academically, but I didn't really help her much. I would just check her work, check in on her. You know, she would hand in the papers, she would do tests, all the stuff you're supposed to do, and I just kind of oversaw everything. My boys are a different story, okay? So she graduated, and last year I had the 2 high schoolers together. And what I found was, this is something I really want to share with you. What I found was we started doing stuff together. So history together and kind of like English, you know, we read together literature and writing assignments all together. We used Sunlight as a guide. I say Sunlight somewhat because I really broke it down to just like whatever I wanted. I didn't really follow it at all. I just kind of, well, I shouldn't say it all. We followed it, but we tailored it. Anyway, so the 2 boys last year did history and like literature and English together. And we started doing it in the mornings, and we would have discussion time at the kitchen table. I am telling you that those hours spent in discussion were more beneficial than anything I've done in my homeschool. You know, they say like when the kids are little, table time in the morning or circle time, or, you know, table time is so important. I would encourage you that it is just as important in high school to have table time with your teenagers. Not just necessarily because of what we learned together in history and reading and stuff. The connection that we would have sitting at the table, I would tell them sitting there, these are the best years of my life. Like, I absolutely loved it because last year we studied modern 20th century history. So we would just, you know, go through each decade, starting in 1900 up until we got to about 1980. And so we did decade by decade, and it was a Sunlight schedule. And we learned so much. We got really in depth with each decade. We would watch documentaries about each decade, and then we would sit at the table and talk about it. And we would tie it into current events and tie it into the Bible. Sometimes our discussions went on and on where I would be like, guys, you got to go do your schoolwork now, you know, your other schoolwork. But I value that table time so much because I believe that, you know, people say your high schoolers, you know, they don't need you anymore. And quite frankly, in high school, my daughter really didn't need me that much for schooling at all. And I apologized to her. I'm like, I wish I did this with you. And she's like, it's fine. You know, she was independent. But what I learned was the value in just hanging out with them cannot be underestimated in the high school years. In the culture we live in and in the world we live in, we have got to have this connection with our teenagers. You know, I talk to them about the stuff going on in the culture. I talk to them about the things going on in the world. We talk about it in our discussion time. We relate it to the Bible. It's so important to connect with your teenagers because they're going to be out of my house someday and into that crazy world, which is, quite frankly, getting darker and darker every day. And so I love that. Besides the fact that we had fun every morning together. I mean, they make fun of me left and right. They pick on me all day long, but all in good fun. And I love it. It's just so much fun. So I'm looking forward to this year. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have our morning where we get together in the morning first thing. But I told them this year, we don't, as homeschoolers, I know a lot of you out there do like breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. My kids have been making their own breakfast and lunch for years. Once they were able to make their own, that was it. I make dinner for everybody, but they've always been on their own, like breakfast and lunch. But I told them I want to do breakfast with the boys in the morning. I will make a special breakfast, you know, even if it's just like toast, who cares, right? Just, I want to be able to like really savor my senior, because it's his last year, to really savor our time together. And again, it's not just about what we're learning. It's about that I'm really, solidifying our relationship together. So I encourage you to find time to connect with your teenagers. It's been wonderful, wonderful for our family. So we are going to do our history together, and we are going to do our English together, so to speak. Now, when I say English together, and even though there's 2 different levels, we are going to be reading the same literature books. And last year we did papers for every decade. They did essays, and then they did a research paper. But I grade according to the level. One's a 10th grader and one is a 12th grader. One of the other things that I found really great when we did our papers and our essays, and I did this because my daughter said in college they do peer reviews. They read their papers in groups and they all help each other. So we started doing that. When they had an assignment at that table time, I would read their essays out loud, and then together we would critique them and we would go over them. And it was really, really helpful, I think, for them. And so we're going to do that again this year. So for their history, so for their table time, we are doing, let me get this here because it's all the way at the bottom of my pile. I want to do U.S. government this year. And so we're going to do it together. And it's heavy. I'm so weak. I got Knotgrass. I've never used it before, but if you're interested. Now, I have the Sunlight U.S. government schedule and a lot of the books, and I love Sunlight. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I thought I want to do this because I read good things about it. So we have this, and we're going to do U.S. government together. With the election coming up, I'm just super excited to study this with them together. We're going to talk so much. We're going to have so many discussions. We're going to be, following the election, and we're going to be really involved again, which is why I said my little guy, there was that one kind of money book, but also had stuff about government and economics in there. He's going to listen in on this, and he's going to learn so much as well, because he's always sitting at the table with us. So last year when we did the century and we did all the decades, he learned about World War I. He watched all the movies we watched. He learned about Vietnam. He learned about World War II, the Great Depression. He was right there in it. The Holocaust, we read our books together. He listened in on all the read-alouds. So he's going to sit with us, and he's going to do government. So we're going to do U.S. government together. And we are going to do, for our literature and our writing, this is so not like me to get like a traditional textbook. But I just sort of wanted to do something that was not, my boys are not big readers, and they're not really into literature. My daughter was a big reader, so I just want to get it done kind of thing. So this is a British literature, like old-fashioned textbook. We're going to use it somewhat. I don't always follow everything, but I wanted to have them exposed to the books in here and the literature in here, and then there's writing assignments. One book, this is so old that I've had forever, and I know there's a very updated version of it, and I would recommend getting it, is Writer's Ink. So I just, I kind of look at my daughter and I ask her, what are they requiring you in college as far as papers and research papers and creative writing and stuff like that? And so I'm just trying to make sure that their skills are on par if they want to go to college. I don't really think the next 2 are going to go to traditional four-year college, but I don't know yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this book was very helpful for us. It taught them how to write a research paper. Now, this is a very old edition. I would recommend getting the new edition. How to write a research paper, the different styles of essays. We've gone through all the styles. I've had them do every style of essays. So I've really, for their English credit, is literature and then writing papers. The assignments can go with our history lessons often, and then often we do other writing assignments. And so we're going to do that together. Again, I grade them according to their level. So one is like an English, 2, and one is like an English 4. But that's how we're doing it. And just a side note, we are starting our year because they have not read. So before we do the British literature, we're just doing this because I want to. We're going to read Lord of the Flies. I never had my daughter read Lord of the Flies because she's sensitive. And when I read this, I was like, I don't think I want her to read some of these parts. I know my boys will like this book. I feel like there's so much discussion in here, especially in the times we're living in. And so I want to read this with them, and I know we're going to have great discussion. So I downloaded a study guide that was free. I think it was from Cliff Notes or something. It's free. I have it on my computer. And we're starting our school year reading this. And then we're going to discuss it every day. And then we're going to move into the British literature textbook that I showed you. All right. And then, so that is our together. Oh, and then I have this book here, which we'll read at some point. My daughter read this when she did U.S. government. Are you liberal, conservative, or confused? So important to kind of talk about all this stuff with my kids. It explains all the stuff, that they will be hearing about and talking about, especially with the election coming up. So we're going to do that. So that's a lot of the stuff that they're going to do together. Now, I wanted to just make a side note. My senior, we're not doing school every day with him this year. He has the opportunity to do like an apprenticeship, I'll call it, or on-the-job training. And so he has a job currently with a friend who owns his own contracting business, and he's been working for him. And he loves it, and he's learning so much. And I told him he's learning more there than he's going to learn with me. So we're counting it as some elective credit. He really only needs, technically, to like graduate at this point, he needs like 2 classes. So he doesn't need technically to do another math, but we're going to, which I'll show you in a second. He really only needs to do, I think, another English. I don't even think he needs to do the U.S. government. A lot of the stuff we're doing just because I want to. But I think he really only needs like very few, 2 classes left to graduate. So I'm going to count some of his on-the-job stuff. So we're going to be working with his schedule, how he's going to get the amount of work done in the amount of time that we have. So, I encourage you to think out of the box. Like, this opportunity came up, and he would much prefer to do what he's doing and work than to sit and learn about things that he is not going to use later on. Like, I know, like, he knows that he doesn't want to get into he doesn't want to, read literature for the rest of his life and analyze it. So there are certain things you have to get done just to get them done. And so, we're fulfilling those credits, but his schedule, we're in the process right now of trying to figure out exactly how much he's going to work. It's going to be at least 2 days a week. So I'm not even going to have him home every day to homeschool this year. And so that we're still working on adjusting. He did Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. And so, and Trigonometry. So he technically does not need any more math, and he definitely is not going to go into like STEM or anything like that. So he definitely doesn't need pre-calculus or any higher math. So and he doesn't even need another math credit in our state to graduate. But I do have this, I had this in my stash that was handed down to me. It's Matthew C. Stewardship. This is the DVD. I have the student book and the Bible study coming. I love this because it's based on biblical stewardship. And so I want him to learn just the real life stuff, the real life math. Like, what's he going to know for a budget and mortgage and credit and, that kind of stuff. So this is what we will be using. This is what we will be using for him this year as his math, and it has 2 DVDs, and I'm excited to go back to Matthew C. I almost missed Matthew C. So we're going to use that for him, and that has the workbook coming. If anybody has questions about that, just let me know. Oh, there's also, like I said, I think there's a workbook, and then a student, workbook, and then there's a Bible study that goes with it, which I'm super excited about because I feel like our kids need to understand the biblical aspect of our money, right? That we handle our money from a biblical perspective. So I'm super excited about this. So that is his for math. My 10th grader for math, he struggles a lot with math. He struggles a lot with school, to be quite frank. And so he's going to do the history with us. He's going to do his, his English class that I will sort of tailor for him between the British literature and the writing assignments. And then he has to finish up Algebra 1. So we were doing Algebra 1 last year. We used Khan Academy. I thought that would be good for him to do the videos that would teach him. But he struggles. And so he has to finish up. What I'm looking for, I was actually on Amazon earlier. Maybe you guys can help me. I was looking at these books on Amazon that are like, you know, everything you need to know about algebra for dummies, or everything you need to know, and almost like these little books, but like for algebra. So I want to find something like that for him. Maybe Life of Fred. I'm not sure. Something like that to kind of like finish it in his mind, because we didn't quite finish the Khan Academy class because he was really struggling at the end, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, we're going to finish it next year. Rather than rush through and not understand it, I'm like, we're going to finish it. So we've got to kind of tie up those loose ends where I need to know that he's really connecting the concepts. And so I'm still trying to find something like that for him to finish. And then I think it's going to be much easier. As soon as he's done with that, we're going to go back to Matthew C and do geometry. My kids all loved this. The other two did this, Matthew C geometry. They did very well. It was not like algebra. They liked geometry. I personally like geometry better. If you want to see these, let me know, or you want to hear more about them. But as soon as I can kind of wrap up Algebra 1 for the 10th grader, then we are going to do Matthew C geometry. All right, so the other thing that the 10th grader is going to do, he needs to continue with his Spanish, so he's going to use Duolingo, and then he needs to do a science, and so he's going to do what's called Chemistry 101. Have you heard of the 101 series? I just purchased it today. It's a video series with a workbook, and I heard that it's a lot easier for someone like him who struggles. We struggled through chemistry for my older two, and they're really good in math and bright, and we had trouble. I am not good in math with that, and so chemistry was more difficult, and so I wanted to get him something that was more, you know, easy for him to digest, and so we're going with that. I didn't link that in here, but it's called Chemistry 101. The other thing is he started his own business this year. This is my 10th grader that, if you listen to my podcast, he was on my podcast quite a few months ago. He was my little boy who couldn't sit still. He is my little boy who still can't sit still, even though he's a big boy now. He's going to be 16. He is the one who has always been challenging. He is the one who has a ton of energy, but he also struggles with learning. He struggles with focusing. He struggles with learning. But this year, we were able to really hone all that energy into something good. He started his own business, and it's been amazing. He works on his business every day. He's learning so much. My husband is really overseeing everything with him. He's really doing it all with him to teach him how to run a business. He wants to really own his own business. Okay, so it's a skateboarding company. He's into skateboarding, so they do Christian designs on the skateboards, and then there's these little fingerboards, they're called. It's a big thing. I didn't know about it, but if you're young, you know about it. And so his dream is to have a skate ministry company. Who am I to stand in the way of his dream? So as he said to me, if anybody out there has a warehouse they'd like to donate, you know, that's his dream. If we could like be able to somehow get a warehouse that he can convert into a skateboard ministry place, he would love it. So he's visited some when we were in Nashville, and he was like, this is what I want to do. Like, he loved it. So anyway, that's another thing that I'm counting for him for school this year is his entrepreneurship, his learning his business. He worked 5 hours the other morning. He makes the fingerboards by hand. He does the shipping and the packaging and all of that. My husband's teaching him how to take the orders and the money and all of that. So that has been amazing for him to finally find something that he loves and is passionate about, and he is focused on. He's learning to use social media to grow his business. I told him he's going to have more followers than I am soon. Like, he's just really been amazing at being persistent to grow his business. So that's going to be another, part of his school. Real life learning is very important to us. It always has been. All right, the last thing, and then the other thing, I said the last thing, that wasn't the last thing. There's a couple other things. I have some books, I forgot to bring them up here, but they're books like, Christian books that I want them to read. One of them is Goliath Must Fall by Louis Giglio, and I chose that for them because his business is called Sling and Stone, and it's based on the story of David and Goliath. And so I love that book. And so books like that, from like Christian authors or things like that, I have downstairs that I'm going to have the boys read as well. And Bible studies and things like that. I'm just trying to adjust that because my camera keeps slipping down. So do you guys have questions? I feel like I just said so much. One last thing I have here to show you guys is, and then I'll just kind of go over any questions or any other stuff. I probably show this to you every year when I do my curriculum reveals because we've been using this for a long time now. We have been using this a little bit at a time, and we're still going to use it a little bit at a time. Health and nutrition from Apologia. And so that is going to be, towards their health credit. But we've used it a little bit every year, but different kids have gotten further in it. It's actually, I think it is like considered it's not like a full-blown science course, but it's involved. It is a lot. So we're using it as like an elective, for like half of a credit or a quarter of a credit for health. So we do a little bit at a time, but it's really, really good. And it's really in-depth, and I would highly recommend it. Okay. Boy, I said a lot. Do you guys have questions? Do you want to see any of the other stuff? I don't know if I was clear on everything. I feel like it's always jumbled because, when you have 3 kids and you're trying to explain how you do it all, everybody always asks about schedules. We do the majority of our schoolwork in the morning, and then the afternoons are free for other stuff for them. Like my son will work on his business. And it's interesting. My oldest son, who's going to be a senior, this is how God works. He is so talented in art and graphic design and special effects and animation, and he taught himself for the past several years all kinds of amazing things and 3D animation and all this stuff. He took a few online classes with the Academy of Art, I think it's called, Academy of Art University in San Francisco. He wanted to go to art school. We had all the plans on what he was going to do. He visited a school in Florida for art, and after that, he's like, you know what? I don't really think this is what I want to do with my life. And we were like, all right, then what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know. So it's amazing how God changes things. We just thought we knew what he was going to do. And so right now he's working and he's loving it. And I told him last night, if you want to, have your own business and you want to keep learning these skills, I don't know what he wants to do. And I told him that's okay. It's okay that you don't know what you want to do when you're 17, because I don't think any of us do. And even what I thought I wanted to do at 17 isn't even close to what I'm doing now. I heard a really good piece of advice the other day on a podcast, and it was like, don't think about what you want to do forever. Think about what you want to do right now. Like, what are you passionate about right now? And I told him, God is going to put you on a path, and it's going to change, and it's going to veer, and it's going to go, all over. And our job is to just follow God. Everybody says, what do you want to do with your life? I'm like, you know what you want to do? Follow God and let him show you. That's what I told my daughter in high school. I said, you follow God. When people say, what do you want to do with your life? How do you know at 16? I said, you answer them with, follow God. And so that has been an amazing journey because, again, she even thought she knew what she wanted to do when she was in high school, and God changed that plan. So I teach my kids to listen to God's voice, to follow him and do what he says. I told my son last night, if you have no idea what you want to do right now, then your only job is to be praying and to be seeking the Lord and to be waiting for doors or things to open that we might say, hey, look, God is leading us in this direction. And so that is the most important life skill you can teach your children, to follow God, to seek God first in everything we do. See, we often teach our kids in high school that they have to seek out the best college, seek out how to get the best SAT score, seek out how to make a well-rounded transcript, that we don't teach them to seek after the things of God and let God show them. We are not just making on paper a transcript, we are building a multi-dimensional person. And so it's so much more than being well-rounded on paper. I want them to be a child of God that's a disciple that is following after him and letting God's plan unfold for them. And that has been, my prayer for them always, is that they would follow God. I talked to my son a lot last night because he's struggling. He's like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, all you need to do is follow God. That's all I want you to do. If you don't know, you just keep praying every day. You just keep asking him. I said to him, he already knows what you're going to do with your life. Isn't that comforting? That he already has it all planned out. Our job is just to seek him. Matthew 6:33. It's our life verse, our family verse, my ministry verse, our homeschool verse. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you. The world gets it backwards. It's seek what we want to do, seek our pleasure, seek what the world tells us to do, and then we pray about it and ask God to bless it. That's not biblical. Seek God first, and then you will do everything out of that, your outflow of your relationship with the Lord. Then you will be on the path that he has for you, which is going to be very different often than what we think it is. And so if you have high schoolers out there, or you have one like me in this kind of situation where they just don't know what they want, most people at 17, 18 are, like I said, not doing what they plan to do, right? We need to not worry about, you have to do this amount of schooling and get this degree and then get this job and then move up the corporate ladder and do this and do that and do that. That's leaving God out of the equation. We say, I'm going to follow God. And if that's his plan, then it's going to happen. But we have to be open that he might change the plan, right? We have to put him first and then let everything fall into place. So how about you guys? Do you have any questions about curriculum, questions about homeschooling, questions about anything I talked about, any of the curriculum you want to see again? I probably left something out. I'm looking at my list. My senior this year, it's really, like I said, right now I told him he's got a few classes he has to take to finish to get his diploma. But quite frankly, I want to prepare him for life this year. I want him to be prepared spiritually, first of all. And then life skills, being able to, he has a really hard time making decisions, a really hard time. So I told him, you know what? We're going to focus on that this year. Not how to just make decisions, but again, it's all about seeking God in our decisions, because we need to have him at the center of our decisions. We don't make decisions and then go to God. We go to God first and let his plans unfold for us. Do I have any other books here? I don't think, to show you guys. Like I said, it probably will change. A lot of times in our homeschool year, I start out with all these plans and then things change along the way. That's okay. I told another piece of advice. I told my homeschooling consulting clients when I was talking to them this past week. Don't be afraid. Most people are afraid right now of making the wrong decision. What if I'm making the wrong decision? I said, number one, it may not be the easiest decision, but it still doesn't mean that it's not the right one. The right one isn't always the easiest one. And the other thing is, don't be afraid that you can reevaluate in 6 weeks and kind of tweak things. But I did say, do not, after the first week, say, well, this was a mess, I'm just going to redo everything. Because the first week, there is a settling period, right? And you know how people say, don't get your hair cut after you have a baby? Or don't make any life decisions, when you're, right after you had a baby or something. Same thing. Don't go changing curriculum a week into your homeschool year. give it a little bit of time to settle and tell yourself like mid-October, we'll reevaluate things, because you don't want to just like try to change everything right away because you had a bad first week. The first week is going to be different. It doesn't mean that's how it's going to stay. It's a settling time. So don't get discouraged if the first week is hard. Don't get discouraged. I'm going to tell you right now, I promise you 100%, you will have bad days in your homeschool, okay? No one ever has a perfect day, perfect year, perfect whatever. You're going to have moments that are glorious. Like some days I'm like, I love this. Other days I'm like, what on earth am I doing? You're going to have some days that are glorious. You're going to have some days that are hideous. It's all part of God growing you as a family. It's all part of God's journey for you. That's why my new book is called The Simple Homeschooling Journey. It is all about what God does on the long term. Every day is how we get to the long term. Those days are shaping our journey. Some days are difficult, some days are easier, and that's okay. It's all part of it. So, do you guys have questions? I'm just going to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. The money book, my computer is showing me different comments than my phone. I apologize. So I'm just finding, this is from a long time ago. Nicole, I don't know if you're still here, but the money book, I think you were asking me ages, is ages 10 and up. I'm looking at the questions. It's so funny. My computer is showing different comments than my phone. So if I missed anything, let me know, because it may have scrolled away on me. And if you have any comments about any of the curriculum, if you have any questions about homeschooling, or do you have struggles that you need, help with? Again, I do homeschool consulting appointments. I love it. I absolutely love it. We get on the phone or on FaceTime, and they're an hour long, but I'm telling you, they always go over an hour, because it's just, it's like women, we talk. And it's just been such a blessing for me to be able to help moms just like take a deep breath, to know that God's got this. It's going to be okay. I tell them you can text me anytime. You can always come to me for prayer. I pray with them on the phone or on FaceTime. Somebody said to me the other day, I just need somebody who doesn't know me that I could vent to. Homeschool moms just want to be heard. They want somebody to listen. They want somebody like an outside voice to kind of say, you know what, maybe that's not a good idea, or this is a good idea. To pick my brain. I've been doing this 15 years now, so if you want to pick my brain. If you buy the Simplify Your Homeschool e-course, I have a discount on the homeschool consulting packages. So you can do a one-time package or 3 visits. And I just adore all my clients. I just wish I lived close by and we could all just hang out. I love my clients. So if you want any information about consulting, about the e-courses, the Simplify Your Homeschool e-course, which is really a heart tune-up. If you're feeling frazzled right now, that's a great course for you to kind of calm you down. It's a 4-part video series. And then there's free downloads for planning and things like that. And then there's also the Bible-based homeschooling e-course, which teaches you how to use the Bible to teach every subject in your homeschool. And I also have a new book coming out, The Simple Homeschooling Journey, Building a Family and Not Just a Transcript. Homeschooling is about so much more than academics. Like I said, we're not just, making it all look good on paper. We're growing people who are going to go out in the world someday, and they're going to grow their families. And so I'm excited about that book. I'm just waiting for my designer, my husband, to get it all formatted and ready to go. I love writing the books. I don't like the whole process of publishing it. We self-publish, and we're in that process right now, and that's always nitty-gritty and hard. So you can pray for that, but I'm excited about that book. I'm going to have that out to you guys very soon. Any other questions or comments, let me know before we go. I know this video has gone on for a very long time. Oh, one other thing, the Simply Living for Him online women's community is completely free, as you guys know. It is not just for homeschoolers. It is for anybody, any woman who wants to study the Word of God, who wants to be encouraged by other women and grow in your walk with the Lord. We have Bible studies. We have scripture writing and memorization challenges every month. We have daily devotionals. We have just amazing, great fellowship. We have over 800 women. There has never been one piece of drama or negativity. I kid you not. We started in April. We're heading into September. I have had not one issue, maintaining this community. It is so uplifting, so encouraging, so God honoring. And that's because everybody's there. Like, we're focused on God. We don't talk about all the negative stuff going on in the world. We're just talking about what does God's word say? What are we learning about God today? It's amazing. So every month we copy in our group for writing, and you don't have to do all those things. You can do as little or as much as you want. But if you join any of the groups, one is scripture writing, and we copy verses. So last month, we wrote through the book of James. We've written through the book of Philippians. We've written out Psalms. Right now, we're writing out through the Sermon on the Mount. The women have found that it's not just about copying scripture. It's when you slow down and write out your verses for the day. Like, the women are really learning so much than if they just read the verses, and then we share what we're learning. It's beautiful. Then we have scripture memorization. We've memorized Psalms. We've memorized Romans 12. We're in the process of memorizing Romans 8. In September, we'll be memorizing something new. I haven't announced it yet, but I know what it is. And then we have a new Bible study coming on Psalm 119. And I teach all of the Bible studies. I've taught one on Simplify Your Life. I've taught one on Overcoming Worry. And I've taught one on how to study the Bible. Those Bible studies are still open. So once you join the community, everything is free. You can do all the Bible studies. There's worksheets and videos and fellowship. It's all free. So once you join the community, you can do those at your own pace. So even if you just want to join and check it out and visit, come in and visit us. It's simplylivingforhim.com/community. I'd love to have you there. And it's not just for homeschooling moms. A lot of people think that. It's for any woman. Any woman who wants to know Jesus is welcome in our community. It's a very peaceful community. Like I said, no drama and no negativity. Any other questions or comments, or as I always say to my kids, questions, comments, concerns, anything else that you guys want to ask me? Now is the time. I'm looking at my list to make sure I didn't forget anything that I'm using for this year. So I showed you everything for 6th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, I don't see any other questions or comments, so I'm guessing then it's time to go. If you watch this video afterwards when it's not live anymore and you want to ask questions, just put them in the comments and I will be coming in to check them and I will answer them at any time. If you don't feel comfortable putting it in the questions, you can email me at Karen@simplylivingforhim.com. You can message me on this page. Don't forget, I have daily devotionals on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Karen Debuse. You can go over there every day. We have a new devotional. There's a new podcast episode out today about not fearing the future. I would love for you to go check that out. There's a new podcast episode every week. Also, I forgot, I wanted to bring it. Oh, it's in my closet. I don't want to get up right now. We have a new shirt in the Simply Living for Him shop. And it says, "Walking with Jesus is my cardio." I put a picture up the other day on Facebook. I was going to show you the shirt. I didn't wear it because it's long sleeves. I bought it for the fall, and it's really hot here today. But it says, "Walking with Jesus is my cardio." It's so cute. And so that is now available. We're going to do some more fun designs this fall. And, all the proceeds to any of my products in the shop or any of the books I sell, the e-courses, that all goes to the Simply Living for Him ministry to keep what I do going and to teach Bible studies in the community and to, hopefully run events in real life someday, but to keep my online community going, to keep anything I do in the ministry going, the podcast, the videos and all that stuff. So anytime you buy a product, that helps support the ministry. You can also donate to Simply Living for Him. We are not nonprofit, so it is not tax deductible, but all the information is at simplylivingforhim.com/donate. And again, that just helps keep what I do going. Like I said, the Simply Living for Him community is completely free. That's just a ministry for me. So the donations help to keep it going. So anyway, I think I have said it all. Do you guys have anything else? Last call for questions or comments. And again, if you're watching this later and you want to see or you want to ask questions about any of the curriculum that I showed here today, feel free to ask questions. You can always email me. Follow me over on Instagram. I love to be on Insta stories and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys around in the social media world. And I hope to hear from you. And then also, let me know how your homeschool year is going. I'd love to hear. Okay? I'll see you guys soon. Bye.